Sometimes the hardest question is not what we will do next, it's who we are without the plan we once had. Hi, this is Antara, and this is Antara's Quiet Mind. Hi, this is Antara. There are many kinds of grief that the world recognizes. The grief of losing someone we love, the grief of ending that are visible and undeniable. But there is another kind of grief that rarely receives a name. It doesn't come from a losing person, it comes from losing a future, a version of ourselves we once believed we would become, the life we imagined, the role we prepared for, the moment we thought would finally make everything make sense. When those dreams quietly disappear, the loss can feel strangely heavy. And yet, it often remains invisible. Today, I want to talk about that quiet, often unspoken experience, the silent grief of unrealized dreams. When we imagine our future, we don't just think about it casually. We begin to live inside it. We picture where we will be, who will we become, how life will finally feel once the effort pays off. For some people, that dream might be a career. For others, it might be a sense of stability, recognition, or simply a life that feels meaningful. Over time, this imagined future becomes emotionally real. It gives direction to our decisions. It helps us tolerate uncertainty. It tells us that the sacrifices we are making today will eventually lead somewhere. So, when that future slowly fades away, the loss can feel surprisingly deep. Because we are not just losing an outcome, we are losing a version of ourselves that we had already started to believe in. One of the hardest parts of this experience is that it can be difficult to explain to others. From the outside, people may only see that something didn't work out. An exam wasn't cleared, a career path changed, a long-term plan was abandoned. But internally, the loss can feel much bigger than the event itself. Because what disappears is not just the opportunity, it is the imagined life attached to it, the identity that was forming around that possibility. And since society often focuses on visible achievements, this type of grief rarely receives much recognition. People might respond with encouragement. Something better will come. Everything happens for a reason. Or just move on. These are words often meant kindly. But grief does not always respond to reassurance. Sometimes it simply needs to be acknowledged. Psychologists sometimes describe this experience as the loss of a possible self. A possible self is the version of who we imagine we might become in the future. These imagined selves can be powerful motivators. They guide our choices and shape our sense of identity. But when a possible self disappears, the mind has to process that loss. And just like other forms of grief, this process can involve sadness, confusion, and even self-doubt. We may begin to question ourselves. Was I not capable enough? Did I misjudge my abilities? Did I waste too much of time chasing something that was never meant to happen? These questions can feel deeply personal, but often the grief is less about failure and more about the collapse of a story we had built around our future. In a culture that values constant progress and positivity, the grief related to unrealized dreams is often pushed aside. People feel pressured to quickly replace the old dream with a new one, to stay optimistic, to keep moving forward. But emotionally, the mind sometimes needs space to acknowledge what was lost. It's okay to admit that something meaningful didn't happen. It's okay to feel sadness about a life that almost existed. Allowing that grief does not mean you are stuck in the past. It simply means you are honoring the effort, hope, and time that once lived inside that dream. And acknowledging that loss can be an important step toward creating a new meaning. Not every dream continues in the form we originally imagined. Sometimes life redirects us, sometimes circumstances shift, and sometimes the person we become through the journey is different from the one we expected. This doesn't mean the years of effort were meaningless. Every attempt shapes our perspective, resilience, and understanding of ourselves. Even when a dream does not become reality, it still leaves traces inside us. The discipline we developed, the lessons we learned, the emotional strength we gained while trying. In this way, the dream may not have created the future we imagined, but still helped shape the person who continues forward. If you are carrying the quiet grief of an unrealized dream, I want you to know that this feeling is not unusual. It is a deeply human response to losing something that once gave life, direction, and meaning. Grieving a future that never happened does not make you weak. It simply means you are cared. And sometimes the dreams that do not come true still leave behind something valuable. They reveal what mattered to us, and they remind us that the story of who we are becoming is never finished. Take a slow breath. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with me. Until next time, take care of your mind. If this reflection stayed with you, even a little, that's enough for today. Thank you for sitting here with me. Until next time, take care of your mind.